hello again. You know, there's a lot of shows with guys heading out into the winter to go on trips with as little gear as possible, taking just a Q-tip and a toothpick to prove that they can survive. This is not one of those. I've got every piece of gear that I think will help keep me warm and make for a comfortable winter camping experience. And I'm headed up. And we're getting close. I got the truck locked into four-wheel drive. And very glad to have it. Drive's over. We're there. And there's that first moment when you get out of your vehicle and you get a chance to hear the place. Sounds like some geese or something down there. There's about 2 inches of crunchy snow on the ground, maybe 3. Nothing drastic. Time to get the pack on, head on down, find the campsite. 39.7 pounds. All right, this is the path to the campsite. All right, came from down that way. That was the first one. My footprints are the only one. And we're at the campsite. This is going to do nicely. There's the view looking out over the pond. Have the right kind of fire pit. This is the kind of fire pit, once you get the snow out of it, you can actually get some heat out of it. And, bonus, someone left some firewood. Looks like something they bought. But here's the view. All of these trees are very healthy, but they have sap. If you watch my gear hammock video, you might remember that I mentioned hanging your pack on a tree with sap. So fortunately I found a spot without. But I'm thinking I'm going to put the tent right in here somewhere. Doesn't look too unlevel. I thought about over here, and I may yet do that, but I'm a little concerned that there might be ice under that snow. Well, that's the view on out. Well, let's get set up. There we go. Take a twist around this time to lock it off. Tent gear hammock set up, ready. Footprint. Poles. Stakes are in the bag with the pole. Okay, this would have the door opening out to this direction. And instead, I think I want the door to go that way, so I have a view of the fire ring. There we go. There's a breeze coming off the lake. Alright, now the concern that I have is that the ground is going to be too frozen to drive stakes into, and there isn't enough snow for a snow anchor. There are no big rocks around here that I can use, so now it's time to find out. These are the stakes I'm using, these groundhog, I think they're called Y stakes. Let's find out. Well, it's not down very far, but that certainly ought to do. The other kind of stake I've got are just these little aluminum hook things. I have my doubts about this. I'll give it a shot. That one even better than the first one. Okay. Good thing about the ground being so frozen is you don't have to drive them down far for them to get a good grip. Tent fly, tent body. Did you ever get your tent all set up only to find that you had the doors going the wrong way? I hate that. Some of you may be wondering why I'm bothering to set up the tent body at all when there's obviously no chance of bugs. And come back to the whole premise of this trip. It's to be as comfortable as possible. I'm thinking that even if it's just 3, 4, 5 degrees, having the tent body is another layer of insulation that may very well add just a little bit of warmth. Again, the priority on this trip is comfort, not weight. I should mention that aside from some footprints in the snow that were probably made yesterday, I haven't seen any sign at all of anyone else being out here. Gotta love it. Okay, let's clean things up a bit. So getting in and out of the tent, I don't want to have all that snow tracking in and out. I don't want to try to keep the inside of the tent dry. I use the shovel to clear away from the front of the tent. Got a little piece of Tyvek down there, and I should be able to keep a lot of the snow out. Alright, we're getting there. You know, another nice thing about winter camping is you can leave the tent door wide open without worrying about bugs getting in there. Time to start unpacking the sleeping bag and let that start getting fluffed up. This is the food bag. I'm just hang this on here as a temporary measure. Clothes. Chair. Be using that in a little bit. Sleeping pad. This cook pot, mug, water, insulated bottle. You know, I'm going to put this in the tent. Another water bottle. Temperature was 25 degrees on the truck when I got here. I'm not too worried about things freezing up just yet. And sleeping bag and hammock gear top quilt. Had this half-liter bottle for drinking while I'm going. No signs of it freezing yet. Except maybe the cap. Easy to get dehydrated in the winter. Just got the sleeping arrangements set up. Got the thermarest inflated and the sleeping bag and the top quilt out. There's the clothes. So now I think it's time to go explore and see what we can do to bolster the firewood situation. I do believe there is plenty of dead and down wood around here because of the time of year. Let's look around. Yeah, down there. Lots of thin softwood, I'm thinking. It might even be a creek over there. Oh yeah, there's a lot of good dry softwood down here that's been held up off the ground. Oh, and even more over there. I'm hoping that that firewood that was left at the campsite is hardwood. So I gather up some of this pine to get things started and should have a pretty good fire. Let's look around some more. Let's go up here, see what we got. Just up over here, got a lot of down pine. And right around this corner, yeah, it's got leaves on it. Just came back to the main trail. Walked just 10 yards down this way. And then right up over here, Whole lot of down wood in here. All right, go back to camp, get my saw, start gathering up some of this. Yep, frozen and soft. Been busy gathering wood. That's the stuff that was here when I got here. And I got these pieces. All of them deadened down. Some of them may be a bit too far gone, and some of them may be wet from being too close to the ground. Won't know till we try it. And the other thing is, I started getting a bit too warm gathering that wood, so time to chill out for just a minute. The wind is coming from here across the lake, so I think I want to try to set up one of my small tarps as a windbreak before I get the fire going. Got this small brown tarp that I made for canoe tripping to give me a quick shelter when it sprinkles. I don't want to really bother setting up anything big. Let's see how it works for a windbreak out here. Stakes and cordage. Well, that's not happening without some encouragement. Let's try this one. These are just some cheap aluminum stakes that I had left over from something. I don't really care about them, but it's definitely going to bend before it goes in. Alright. Well, just had the first significant disappointment of the trip. I was unable to rig this tarp anywhere that was really handy. I mean, this is a little bit helpful, but not much. Without a way to get a stake driven into this icy ground, I'm really at the mercy of wherever I can find trees I can use. And you can see by how this is blowing out that there is a fair amount of breeze coming in off the lake right now. And I've had to jury rig it between these trees, so it's giving me a little bit of a windbreak from over here, but I really wanted to be much more over this way. So there's the fire pit. And then there's the tarp over there, but I really wanted to string it right along in through here. Need a way to drive stakes into frozen ground. Well, the temperature started to drop. It's 4:18 in the afternoon. Got at most 59 minutes of daylight left. At least 59 minutes until official sundown. Spiffy new watch. Time to get going on this wood. Alright, I went over to one of those down pine trees and snapped off a bunch of the branches that were sticking up, and these seem to be much better. Time for a status update. It's about 13 to 5 right now, and I've been working on getting the wood set up. Let me turn you around here and give you a look. The wind is coming from over here, so I'm planning to sit here, and then I've laid 3 pieces of wood and the bits of bark down as a moisture barrier, and then I've got my really fine stuff there. Got that firewood that somebody left here all in a ring around the fire pit to get the ice melted off of it and warm it up a bit. Then I've got my thumb size stuff over here, moving on up to more wrist size stuff, actually more like my daughter's wrist than mine. And then over here I got my wrist size stuff that I've been cutting off of these pieces. It is 6 minutes to official sundown. Got my fire kit. In my fire kit, I have tonight's entertainment. Homemade fire starter. This is a paper egg crate filled with oak sawdust and shavings, and then melted paraffin wax with a little cotton ball on top, just to give it something to grab hold of and light. I've done all the bushcrafty sort of things, but remembering that this trip is supposed to be about how comfortable can you be out here, and use one of my homemade, ecologically sound fire starters. And a lighter. Your lighter has duct tape wrapped around it, doesn't it? I'm guessing I should have had that lighter in my pocket warming up. Didn't have quite enough gas pressure to really get going. Well, we learned by doing. Never did change out my socks. Thought I would get the fire going. See if I couldn't get my boots dried up a bit. Otherwise, I felt I ran the risk of putting dry socks in damp boots and just getting my dry socks damp. I should have this bundle over here by me. Ready. All right. You know, I think I'm going to hold up there on using this stuff. I just might want to have a fire in the morning. The old Boy Scout pyramid tonight. After I get a base of coals going, I'll shift over to more of a long fire sort of thing. Well, I've been sitting here tending the fire for the last 10 or 15 minutes. It's now quite dark out there. And I don't know if you can hear the hissing from the wood, but there is some wet wood in there trying to burn. I could tell the instant that the little starter cube that I made burned out. Fire's going to take some tending tonight. I heard some small animal half hour ago screaming for its life the other side of this inlet over here, probably a couple 100 yards away. And there's another animal that I haven't been able to identify the track. It's about the size of a raccoon at a guess, but the fingers aren't long enough to be a raccoon. I'm a little concerned it might be a skunk. It's too big to be a squirrel. I don't need to have a skunk skunking around my camp. I did do a proper job of hanging the food bag. It's right here behind me. Good 10 feet off the ground, 5 feet away from the tree. But I'm not worried about bears, I'm worried about skunks. Down there. These have got ice on them. Let's get down here and start getting them thawed out. Oh yeah. Much better. Much better. 5:21. Not really hungry for dinner yet. I'm going to have Packet Gourmet Texas State Fair chili. One of my favorites. Alright, well I'm going to finish getting this fire going. Check back in with you later. Starting to kick out a little bit of warmth now. Toes still feel cold and wet though. And the boots are still damp. Well, it's 5:41. Suppose I need to start thinking about dinner. Where I'm going to set up the stove. Probably right here. I just got in the tent, swapped out my wet socks and boots for the canoe neoprene socks and the down booties. So far it's still cold. The neoprene socks were quite cold. Hopefully it warms up. Got the water on for the Texas State Fair chili. And one thing I'm realizing is I should have brought the wider pot. This pot is just barely bigger than the burner. I get it turned way down, but I've never cooked with this stove with it down this low before, so we'll find out. But Texas State Fair chili coming up. The water in my hydro flask had gotten down to about room temperature. I've got most of that on to boil. And after that gets heated up, I'm going to put it back in the hydro flask and then put it back probably in some of my clothing to insulate it. I don't want to put this one in the sleeping bag, it's all metal. I'm going to have some hot chocolate in about a half hour or so, maybe an hour, just to give my internal furnace some fuel to work with through the night. But fire feels good. My feet are comfortable finally, and not doing too badly right now. So, am I comfortable? I'm not uncomfortable, but you know, the exposed parts are cold. The sun should rise over there somewhere. You can hear the swans. That's what I've been hearing all night long. All right, let's make some breakfast. I already had coffee, of course. No way would I try to do this without coffee. Breakfast skillet. Can just barely see those marks in there. In the Mountain House meals, the do not eat packet is almost always at the top. In the packet gourmet, it's almost always at the bottom. Simple consequence of the way they put the stuff in the bag. Maybe. Yo. Okay, she's hot. Should have had it in the cozy to start with. 4 minutes, stir it. 8 to 9 minutes, eat it. And we'll start the stopwatch. Alright. Breakfast is cooking. Now we wait. We'll have a long-handled spoon with Mountain House. Well, finished breakfast. Just made my second mug of coffee. And there's a point down here. I think we'll go explore that a little bit. Maybe shoot some video from the point across the way. And let's take the tripod. Probably an animal has lived in there, but I don't see any tracks. It is the middle of January in Michigan, and the lakes are not frozen. That is extremely unusual. Well, last night I burned 3 of those logs that I found frozen into the ground when I got here. And I'm leaving this piece of wood and this kindling. So I always feel better about leaving more firewood than was here when I got here. Having high quality fuel wood, even though it was frozen in the ground, was very nice last night. Those 3 logs burned a long time and generated a lot of heat. Taking the tent down, got the stakes out. That is where I was sleeping last night. Seems quite certain that a lot of my body heat was going in to creating that melt line right there. Now the question is what to do with my duffel. This is the point at which I wish there was more snow and I had a little sled. But I'm just going to try carrying it. Over the shoulder. See how that goes. Alright, let's hit the road. Made it back to the truck. This is how I ended up carrying this thing most of the time. It's acceptable for short distances, but very annoying otherwise. Really need a sled if you're going to try to carry that. So, trip's over. What did I think about it? Was it rewarding? Kind of. It was worthwhile, absolutely. I have been curious about testing my winter gear for a long time, and I was very happy to get the opportunity to finally do that. The temperatures never got to be that cold, mid-20s at worst. So it was a good test, but in what I would call moderate winter conditions. How would things have gone if there had been much lower temperatures, say single digits or low teens? It would have been a bit more dicey. If the wind had kicked up a lot more, again, it would have been much more challenging. So that's a wrap for this trip. Very worthwhile. Very glad I got out. Was very pleased to explore this part of my state and look forward to the next trip. So thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. The subscriber list is growing. And give me a like if you liked it. Feel free to leave a comment. I'll try to get back to you. I'll see you next time.